I know that as the leader of the Boys and Girls Club in McAllen, you do have some big concerns right now. You're learning about events up in Washington. They're having a direct impact on our region, all the Boys and Girls Clubs. But let's talk about yours specifically. What's been happening? How serious is it?
Yes. So thank you, first of all, for the question. So what we of course, have been following the federal budget closely. Of course, it's still in its kind of first and second draft. But what we consistently see is that there's dollars that are being completely slashed out and gutted out for what we know are super important services that are provided at our Boys and Girls Club. And of course, not only our club, but across the region, there's going to be a significant economic impact. Going back to our club, we do a lot of prevention and intervention. So we know that if you prevent at-risk youth from participating in activities that will honestly cost the community much more later in life, right? That if we can prevent some of those actions or the kids, acting with at-risk behaviors or just risky behaviors, that it's much more significant, the economic impact later. So what we are seeing is that federal dollars, specifically with 21st Century Learning Grant, which, by the way, the state of Texas was in line to be able to receive. And so that's millions of dollars across the country for Boys and Girls Club. But specifically for us, we were hoping that we would be able to apply for those dollars to increase the capacity at our Boys and Girls Club. We also know that preventative programs through the Office of Juvenile Justice, those dollars are not showing up. And again, dollars that help us, to be able to support our kids. We serve about 20,000 kids and teens at our club alone. And so we're just closely looking at what that bill looks like.
And I understand that the AmeriCorps program's part in the mix here.
Yes.
What's happened there?
So the AmeriCorps program is one program that the Boys and Girls Clubs that were participating in AmeriCorps about a month and a half ago, we did get an immediate, we will no longer be funding this program. So we had over 30 employees from across the regional clubs that were immediately not funded. And so all of us, of course, were looking at ways to be able to, first of all, save those employees' jobs. And also, secondary would be, of course, making sure that our kids had those quality programs, the mentorship programs, and the prevention programs still intact, even with those cuts. And so we're still all exploring what that would look like. But ultimately, our kids and our families will be at the expense of those cuts.
Has the word got out to your families or the boys and girls that utilize your facilities? Have they been told that things you could have to shrink in size?
No, so we, of course, haven't sounded the alarm with our families that we serve and the kids that we serve. I know our board of directors and the board of directors at the clubs across the region are committed to kids. And what I also want to say and clarify is that we've always worked really closely and we've always had just positive experience with our federal elected officials. We know that they are going to do the right things for our kids and families, that they care about them. They always open their doors when we take our teens and kids to Washington, D.C. to listen about what they need. And so we look forward to continuing to serve them through the federal budget and, of course, ultimately for that local impact.
When we listen to the webinar that you're always on, that's put on by the Prosperity Task Force, and we hear Jaime Longoria from the county, and his focus is what he calls the skinny budget from President Trump. That's not the budget concern that you have. Yours is perhaps with what they call the big, beautiful bill. That's the one that's going to impact you.
Yes. So that'll be, again, the dollars are completely zeroed out. And so whether it was dollars that we had as part of our sustainability plan in the future, or looking about a $600,000 immediate impact if that particular budget passes to all of our regional clubs. And I think what's also really important when we're having conversations about the federal budget, we have to understand that there's some residuals that will also be felt. So it's not even just dollar in, dollar out, right? So the federal government has pass-through funding to the state of Texas. We receive some of those pass-through funds to serve our community for really, really important services. And so we need to understand that impact as well. So we'll firstly get it from the federal government. And then we do believe, which is understandable, the state of Texas has to take care of itself. And so then what are they going to begin to cut And we do believe that it'll be services like this.
So the big beautiful bill still has to get through the Senate. There's talk of that being tweaked, changed a little bit. But if the House version was the one that made it into law, signed by the president, and that's the new law, that's the new funding implication, have you been able to work out the dollar amount as to how much you would lose?
Yeah, we're still looking at that, to be honest, Steve. It's a little bit confusing. And what I can tell you is that because the Department of Education, the Federal Department of Education, is the one who also has wraparound services that boys and girls clubs here locally and across the country receive, I think that also has a little bit to do with that. There's conversations about the need for Department of Education to exist in the federal government. But again, I'm very hopeful because advocacy works. Working with our federal elected officials has always worked. And so we look forward to continuing that conversation on behalf of our kids and our families here.
One last question then. Your message to the community and also your message to the leadership in the Rio Grande Valley. How can everyone help you?
Advocacy. So speaking up, having conversations that are respectful. I think that everyone, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, that we have worked with directly in the past, they've always put kids first. And so we know that that pattern has always existed. And so we look forward to that being upheld as well. Our kids do not have voice and agency the way adults do. And we take that, that is a deep conviction of mine and of other community leaders, that we need to be the voices for our kids. And so their basic needs being met, as well as, some of that character development, mentorship, and making sure that they have the opportunities for them to reach their full potential. So again, advocating, speaking up, having conversations that are diplomatic, and moving that needle forward for services that our community needs, I think we'll be in a good shape.
Dalinda, thank you for bringing us up to speed. I know it's moving and changing all the time.
Yes.
Thank you for the update as of today.
For sure. Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you. I appreciate it. And we're gonna keep working. We're gonna keep working.